Two people are already waiting to watch.
Whenever you're ready.
I know this is a crazy idea.
Whenever you're ready, we'll have.
Okay, but no John yet?
Is
No,
there
John,
any
yeah.
possibility of ever having like
Hmm?
a town meeting with people on Zoom, or is that just, no?
It's not allowed under our.
Yeah, I don't think you can. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we will get started at 6 o'clock. We'll start with the pledge, which is now this direction. I know, it takes me a while. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for being here and welcome Letty, our newest board member. We will just kind of keep our ears open for John, who I believe is going to join us by Zoom. So once he's ready, we'll take a vote for him to participate remotely. We'll start as usual by reviewing and signing payroll and accounts payable register. For the period ending 3/16/24, we had payroll in the amount of $39,060.75. We had accounts payable in the amount of $18,651.05. We did have an ACH payment to Swayze for $232,200. Looks like John is trying to make an appearance.
I don't know how good my connection's gonna be, but we're gonna
You're good now.
give it
You're good right now.
Or you were.
a full house.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, John, we just reviewed payroll, so that's just going to go around for signatures, and then we'll take a vote to allow you to participate remotely.
I have those two of the sleeves.
Okay. Oh. Do you want to do that before John, or
Either way.
wait till they're done signing?
It's a release for a letter of credit.
And this should match that other one. Yes. And she usually has it right there for you.
Oh, that.
That's Paul's job, so now you'll have to do it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
now you gotta. Yeah. I've been neutered.
That's all it took, huh?
Not quite.
If you get here earlier than Letty, you can take that seat.
All right, and before Joyce leaves, it sounds like we have one more financial document to sign.
So the planning board has issued a letter of credit. They have at their last planning board meeting, they would like to request a release of funds from the letter of credit for 3 ponds due to substantial work being completed on the project. The letter of credit should have a balance of $403,365.45.
Can we have quiet in the crowd, please? Thank you.
They're reducing the letter of credit by $115,414.75, which would bring a credit balance of $287,950.70. And this has been reviewed by the town engineers and by the planning board
And this will be periodically decreased as the
as work is
work
completed.
completes, okay?
It's based on completion of additional
Units,
or road, construction.
okay? I'll take a motion for us to sign this letter of credit per the planning board.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Looks like I have to sign only, and Joyce, and I think that's it? Okay. Pass that over to Joyce. And then Letty, if you can hand her the rec folder, she takes that with her as well.
This one?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes. I keep this one?
Joyce keeps that one.
Oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll leave this letter probably for John.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Have a nice night.
I'll make a motion to allow John to attend remotely.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye,
Aye.
so John will attend remotely. Because he is remote, we will have to do all votes by roll call when he is involved in voting. I will take a motion to review and approve our consent agenda.
Moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments about the consent agenda for this week? Nope, it contains the rec manifest, the treasurer's report, and standard building permits. We'll take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll pass our consent agenda. We'll now move on to public comment. We will open comment at 6:05. And as usual, if folks want to comment, if they can come forward and have the mic pick them up. Anyone interested in commenting tonight?
It's a big crowd.
I know, all four of you. It looks like a O for 4, so seeing,
Actually, can we bring Daphne in for, she has
Daphne, do
technically
you
a
have-
public comment.
do you have a public comment?
If you don't mind.
Yes, come on in.
Right next to you.
Wonderful. This is on a personal note. We had, my husband had a cardiac situation a few weeks back, and I just wanted to thank our police department, because Ernie and I would like to sincerely thank Lieutenant Justin Doty, Officer Evan Carey, Officer Bob Gagnon, and Officer Matt Kelly for their quick response to a medical emergency at our home and another situation where I was panicking, not able to get a hold of my husband, which he's fine, everything is fine. Without their efforts, the evening could have had a very different outcome. The work you do is so important, and when you add that to your kindness, we don't know a better police department or set of officers. We are extremely grateful. So thank you from Daphne and Ernie.
Thank you.
That's it. And I also do need to thank hundreds of people for the election, but I will have something a little more professional next week.
Thank you for your nice comments. Thank you. All right, anyone else interested in public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment at 6:07 and move on to discussion action items.
I'd like to make a motion to have Jen remain as chair.
There's a motion and a second on the table to have me remain as chair, which I would be willing to do. Any comment or discussion on that?
Jen, you've done a really amazing job, and I am incredibly grateful for not only your service to Brentwood, but your the collaborative atmosphere that you have fostered on board, and just really be thrilled to have you as chair, Jen.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We'll take a vote. We'll have to go around actually. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'll give myself an aye. So we will have me continue as chair. We do need a vice chair. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
Motion to have Andy remain as vice chair.
Andy, are you willing to do that?
Yes.
Any discussion or comments from the rest of the board? You guys okay with that? Okay, so we'll take a vote for that. Andy, would you like to vote for yourself?
Sure.
Okay, great. John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will thank Andy for continuing in his vice chair role. We also need to designate reps for our various boards and committees.
Can I steal this for a second?
You can,
first?
sure.
I'd also just like to welcome Letty to the table.
Yes, indeed,
Thank you.
very much so.
Now you can hear it.
Hear, hear. Have there ever been 2 women on the board at the same time before?
I don't think so.
No, so I think it's a first. So that's great. In terms of reps, so we need to designate reps for BudCom, Conservation Committee, School Board, Planning Board, Recreation, the Building Committee, Joint Loss Committee, Emergency Management. We have Econ Development on here, but it is a subcommittee, which similar to energy and communication, don't necessarily have to have an official rep, but can have sort of a loose rep or sort of an ad hoc rep as needed. And then we have library on here, which Russ had been going to library, but I think was maybe not officially, if you look at the town board book, he's not listed officially as the rep, but I think in general, we've had a presence at library similar to school. So if we include that in our list, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different positions to fill with the 5 of us.
Do we still need communications committee? And
I think so. E&E and communications are subcommittees, and I think Russ had been going to them on and off. I guess it's for the board to kind of discuss. I mean, officially, we don't need a rep to an advisory subcommittee, but it's kind of up to us if we feel like that would be beneficial versus having the chairs of those committees periodically come here and update us the other direction. Do you guys feel strongly about how you'd like to do that for the next year?
My only issue is that, well, communications are gonna have to fill Letty's position,
Why?
because now you,
It's a good question, actually.
Not an elected.
it's not an
Yeah, it's not
elected position,
elected, so,
but you're losing a seat because you had, was Russ a voting?
no, he
No.
was just purely advice. So maybe that kills two birds with one stone. You can report back to us what happens in communication committee as a appointed
official
member,
person?
right?
Okay.
I think that seems to kind of cover that.
Works for me.
And then E&E, I think, was the same thing. I think Russ, I had gone to a few of them at the beginning, and then Russ was going occasionally. I don't know if folks feel that it would be beneficial for us to have somebody present at that meeting, or to just ask Rick LeBrecq periodically to come update us.
It's sufficient, seems to be.
Yeah.
I think so too. They're a pretty self-sufficient group. Okay, so we'll have Letty continue as part of communications.
So BudCom, I would like to see either the chair or Letty, where she's familiar with BudCom, represent, is my opinion.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. I would be happy to take BudCom. I couldn't do it last year because I was on school, but I think I'll probably come off, because they're the same night, but I think I'll probably come off of school after doing it for 2 years, so I would be willing to do BudCom unless there's someone else who feels strongly.
Can I do school then?
Sure, it's fine with me. Unless Letty, who's just recently come off the school
Oh.
board.
I am familiar with the school, so.
Letty feels like she's all
I'm
up to
very
date on the school. She knows how that committee works. Okay, so if I take BudCom and John then wants to move on to school. Okay, we have Conservation Committee, which Andy, you've been doing, I think, for the past year.
I can either continue to do it, or Paul had mentioned that he might like to
What are the
get
nights
his
on it?
feet wet. It's the
When?
third Wednesday.
Wednesday? Is that
Second
Third
Wednesday.
Second Wednesday.
Second Wednesday? Is that
At
doable for you?
6:30,
Of the month.
yes, once a month.
That's sort of, because we're trying to coordinate planning board and Concom, that might make sense.
So potentially Paul could go over to Conservation. Andy, do you have a preference for what you'd like to do?
I would either do library or planning board, depends on what Letty would like to sit on.
I don't care.
Would you like planning board?
I don't care.
You might be good on planning board. You're very detail oriented.
So the other one that's on here,
Joint loss, we need somebody that's available during
Joint
days.
loss.
I'm available most times during the
Also
days.
EMD
Is
is
day.
stay
I'm
time.
available during the days, but I'm already on the building committee. Do I have to come off?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And I'm fine
Should I
remaining
be the
planning
official?
board.
Building committee? Well, I mean, like, are you a citizen or?
I am a citizen,
She's a citizen member right now of the building committee, yeah.
but it might actually be good to have
There should be a select board rep
It's
on
me,
it.
yeah, I've been going to those meetings. Joint loss is like quarterly, it's only like 4 times a year. I had been doing it, but there's been a couple meetings I haven't been able to
No,
go
I can
to.
do that, and then EMD's the same, for me to do those two?
Yeah, and EMD doesn't meet often,
EMD
does
only
it?
meets on the drill cycle, so I think there's two
pretty
practice drills and
infrequent.
then one graded drill.
Okay.
So it's 3 times a year.
So
Oh,
Letty
sweet.
could do that. So Andy, maybe library.
Yeah, I'll
John,
take
do you
one.
wanna stay on rec? I know that's been a good, because of your interest in rec.
I would like to, if that's okay. Yeah, that's my preference.
I know you and Andy have had a good working relationship together.
Yeah,
Andy would like to see that continue as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind staying on planning board unless that was your.
No, Letty just needs something to do.
No, Letty's
So
got,
there's
Really?
Letty's
No,
got
'cause
joint
she
loss
just took
and
those
EMD.
two, well, joint loss meets once a quarter.
Yes, there's,
I wonder if Letty moving on to planning, if Paul moves to conservation, might make sense.
Unless Paul
And
wants
then
to
Andy
keep
takes
planning
so
it.
the only other thing that I will mention, just because of the year that we're coming up on, the building committee is probably gonna heat
Ramp
up a
up.
little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So if Paul wants to keep planning, he can stay there, if Letty's okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
I mean, it sounded
Well,
like,
except-
it sounded like they had
except-
plenty to do, but,
except you're not gonna be there this Thursday.
right, so only this Thursday. I would ask for a designee.
So, with that being said, maybe we nominate Letty as Paul's permanent alternate.
We could do that.
Okay.
So Andy, you want to do library?
I'll do library.
Okay.
The commute will be
Who's doing all three?
horrible.
Who's doing what?
Are you
Paul's gonna
Trav?
move over to conservation.
John does that.
And keep planning,
Yes.
Do you think that's too much?
and Letty's getting what?
Letty's doing communications, joint loss, emergency management.
And building committee.
Okay.
And I'll probably I can stay on building committee as a select board rep, because I've been going to those. And,
Instead of Letty?
well, I mean, Letty's you were just a regular member, but I guess we don't necessarily need both of us there. So it's
Yeah,
up
I
to you
don't-
how you feel about it.
Either way, it's open to the public.
Yeah,
Unless there's three of us there, then
yeah, it's not a meeting. It's true, we could both go.
I mean, so when I'm looking at my schedule, that would mean like 3 meetings a month between planning board and conservation. Is that like
yes.
a lot more than what the rest of you are doing, or is that comparable?
The only one busier than that is probably,
Letty.
uh,
Well, BudCom during.
Bud-
Budcom's
Budcom during
busy
budget
during budget
season.
season, yeah.
meet a lot, but that's,
So it's kind of up to you, Paul, if you'd rather not do both conservation and planning.
if you can handle that busy and want it,
Or do you wanna do conservation and then do E&E, cause E&E typically meets on a Wednesday night as well.
E&E,
The
I think they
energy.
meet, I think
But
they
I
meet
don't
on the
think
third Wednesday.
We said we didn't necessarily think we needed a designated rep for E&E, because Rick is good about keeping us,
and John wants to keep
updated.
rec. How often does library meet?
Once a month.
I could do conservation, and you were doing library?
yeah.
I could do conservation and library in lieu of planning board. But I know like I had some continuity with planning board, so that was the only.
Well, the only reason why we said planning board is because you asked to keep it. So if you
No,
don't.
no, I know, that's why I said to keep it, because there's a continuity there. That was my thought about it. I mean,
we can always adjust too if it's not working for people, the schedule.
what time does it meet on Wednesday, conservation?
6:30.
6:30.
6:30.
Okay, so what I have so far, myself for BudCom, Paul for conservation, John for school, Paul for planning, Andy for library, John for rec, myself and Letty potentially for building committee, Letty for joint loss and EMB. John will continue on econ development as he's been doing as a regular member. Letty will continue on communications as a regular member. We will not at this time put an official member onto E&E, but keep communication lines open with them. Does that all sound acceptable? Okay, everybody happy with that?
Can we just have an agreement that if someone's not happy with it, that we can talk about it again?
Totally.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then we probably should make a motion to have Letty be the backup for Paul. Was that the decision for planning? Because I know we really do
like
need
this
to
Thursday.
have that official.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's one of the ones where you have to, it's good to have like some continuity.
yes, and we have to have an official motion to be able to do that.
Okay.
So I'll take a
I might
motion from
lean on
someone
you.
for that.
On that.
Andy's moved for Letty to be the official backup for Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go around. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Motion
Letty?
for
Aye.
this
And I'm an aye, so we'll have Letty be the official backup for Paul for planning. All right, wonderful. That was all we had to assign, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then it looks like you are going to present the special detail rates for chief and sheriff?
So PD is requesting an increase to their detail rates. It's about 20%. So they would like to go from The cruiser rate to go from 13 to 16 an hour, the admin fee to go from 17 to 21 an hour, and the officer rate to go from 50 to 60 an hour. So the total bill rate would be 80 an hour, increased to 97. The hourly rates in Kingston is 58 for the officer, and in Epping it's 60 for the officer. So this will get them right on track to where our neighbors are offering for detail rates.
Okay.
How much of that goes to the officers, the whole thing, the whole officer part, or is there?
Just the officer part, so the increase would be from 50 to 60 for the officer. The only exception to that rule is, I believe it would be for Lieutenant Doty, is if he were to do a detail, he would receive his time and a half rate instead of the detail rate, because his time and a half rate is slightly higher than the detail bill rate.
Okay.
Where do the other two parts of that go?
The other parts go into the detail fund, so those are to offset the billing costs and cruiser.
So the administrative fees are supposed to go to offset, pay back to the general fund for,
Car maintenance.
well, no, like time processing.
Invoicing,
Oh, okay.
We do
Billing.
billing, we do have some, maybe one officer that still gets paid
New Hampshire
New
retiree,
Hampshire retirement.
So basically the time it takes for
Yes.
us to process this.
So,
So it's mostly the cruiser rate that goes right into the detail fund.
yes.
Yep.
But 21 is high for admin, so there should be some extra left over from that as well.
Okay. Do you feel like this is reasonable increase in rate, considering like your experience with Sandown and other towns?
Yes,
Yeah.
the 60 an hour is reasonable,
Yep.
and then the new cruiser rate is reasonable considering like a build on a new cruiser from the ground up is like almost $50,000
Right.
now. So, like,
So it makes sense that the rental would go up.
yes.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve these updated detail rates.
Moved.
Second.
And we'll take a vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll let the chief know that we approve his new rates and put those in place. That was the end of our scheduled discussion action items, so we'll move on to regular business, and we'll start with Karen. What do you have for us?
This is Form MS 232, so this is just a report of appropriations that were voted on at town meeting,
Just confirming
confirming the votes that were
the bottom
passed.
line budget
Yes.
plus warrants?
Yes, the bottom line budget is $2 higher than what was actually voted on at town meeting, because the two that were establishing the revolving funds for the solar and for the emergency management,
You have to put a
they
dollar?
have to put $1 in, it wouldn't let
Okay.
me, it
Okay.
wouldn't let me pass go without it.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't think the public will be mad at us about $2.
Could have taken $2 from somewhere.
Could have donated it. All right, do we need a motion to sign that?
Yes.
I'll take a motion to sign the MS 232.
Moved.
Second?
We'll take a vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll pass that and all five of us will sign it. Or should John sign it when he gets back, or just the four of us will sign it? Okay, perfect.
Mr. Webb, 37 Middle Road, they would like to renew their permit to haul non-potable water.
Moved.
They don't haul water, they just like to renew the permit every year.
This is sort of a just in case.
Yep.
This is from Pine Road.
They haven't hauled any gallons of water since I've been here.
Okay.
Can you guys say this again?
It is,
Web property to haul non-portable water, it needs to be licensed, but he hasn't hauled any in, well, Mr. Webb has passed, the family hasn't hauled any in years.
Do they have to report it to us if they do?
They do, when they renew their permit, they'll tell us how many gallons they've hauled.
so I think I heard
And
of
hauling
They're
it
not
to
currently-
where, to
They're
where?
not currently extracting water,
Correct.
and they have not extracted water for years?
Not since I've been here, but they've renewed their permit every year.
And there is a note in here that pursuant to the requirements of our regulations, no more than 20,000 gallons per day may be taken, but it sounds like it's been 0 gallons per day.
Correct.
So this is just a precaution.
I thought we had a water, there was someone who does water over in that general area.
On Route 27, just in between Pine Road and the new Prescott property, 2 silos from there, they do water.
And they're permitted and everything?
They don't get a permit from us.
Yeah, I think they have a state permit, they don't get it from us.
Oh, okay.
And
So can we just,
Well, perhaps the difference there is because 27's a state road, so they're,
Yes. that, and that's drinking quality, not non-potable, not
Oh,
non-potable. Potable.
So this is
It's a
hauling.
bad place to get frozen.
it could be worse. Hopefully he'll come back up.
So hauling to where? Like what happens with this?
The one on 27?
No, this,
This?
if he were to.
Yeah, where
haul,
would the-
Which he isn't. Which one?
Swimming pools, anywhere it's non-drinkable.
Irrigation.
Oh,
systems.
Farms,
Okay, just non-drinking.
non-drinking.
Okay, so the family's just doing this to kind of cover their bases in case something changes in their situation.
which I don't foresee happening.
Okay,
I think it's easier to renew than it would be to.
okay.
he's back. So I think we had a motion to approve this.
Yes,
Is there
I
a
moved
second?
it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Andy?
Aye.
John? John may have frozen again. Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. John, are you there?
Aye.
Okay, there we go. So we'll send this around for signature.
In just history, many, many years ago, John, there was a drinking water place that's now where P.R. Russell is.
All right, what else do you have for us?
Bob's Heavy Metal would also like to renew their license to operate and maintain a motor vehicle junkyard. It's a state application and then a town application, and it's a 2-year application.
And this is a renewal?
This is a renewal, so this is. Signature goes here. So it's just one signature here from the town on the state form, and then the full board needs to sign the local permit for the operated junkyard.
Do we have to go with it?
Well, I guess you don't have to do anything.
I don't know,
What's it called?
Bob's Heavy
Bob's
Equipment.
Heavy Equipment on Middle Road.
Oh.
just, it's the same person
So Bob
that-
passed
that's
away.
doing water.
Bob passed away and his wife is operating, or she's continuing to keep the licenses current.
Is there an active junkyard operating there at this time?
There's not, but if you, I think she's working on cleaning up the property, but if you let this lapse, you have to go back to the ZBA to get a variance and get the permit renewed because of the way that the statute is written now, or the local
They'd have
ordinance.
to meet any current, if they,
Right.
because he's been there for a long time.
Right.
So he's been grandfathered in on his current lot.
It says he's currently allowed to collect white goods, scrap metal, and electronics from residents of the town of Brentwood. So I'm assuming, is that all that this license allows, is
Yes.
those materials?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is the same person who just signed the water? thing
Yes.
for?
Yes, the wet.
Is there any concern with regard to the property in terms of it being a, I don't
Out of
know, an
compliance?
eyesore or out of compliance
No.
or?
No,
Any issues?
there's a ton of land. It's, nothing's visible from the roadway.
And they've had this permit for years and years and years.
And we haven't
Yeah.
received any complaints about it.
Is this an alive person?
His wife is alive and
So the
operating.
company-
over there.
So we
Leslie,
just
Leslie,
gave a
what?
non-alive person a permit to haul non-potable water?
Should probably relabeled with her name, huh?
I can do that.
I don't know.
Leslie.
I mean, if she's.
Yeah, this one
if-
says Leslie on it.
Yeah.
If she's his heir, then it would just
Yeah.
probably go through her, and that would be annoying for her.
And she is his heir. I have seen that paperwork.
Okay. Does anyone have concerns about continuing to approve this license to operate and maintain junkyard?
My only question, Andy, was, you said, do we have to? I mean, is there a reason not to?
Just, it's a junkyard. I mean, you don't see it, but, if you were a neighbor and property values, do you want a junkyard in your, that his 100 acres are for sale off of Pine Road, is somebody gonna wanna buy that piece of property with a operating junkyard?
How long is the term of the renewal?
2 years.
2 years. And do we know the family's intention going forward?
They haven't expressed an intention on selling it or anything.
What's the,
It's, the property's for sale,
The property runs the,
that one is too.
The use runs with the land. So it would transfer.
Right, they would
Which
transfer.
property is it?
Right across from Brentwood
Oh,
Self-Storage.
like, what's the,
37 middle.
And when this was originally approved years and years ago, did it go, it went through ZBA or it went through?
It did not, it was a grandfather
It was
use.
grandfathered, oh, okay,
And we haven't received any complaints, so I don't
yeah.
see a reason why
it's a
we
really
wouldn't
big lot,
renew
I
it.
think they're pretty far away from any neighbors. Looks like they own the next lot towards Exeter too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a big lot there.
I mean, in general, can anyone in that, is that residential or commercial, or what is that?
I think it's half and half, right? I think that lot's half and half.
I think that's commercial.
I mean, so,
There's a business across the street, and
Yeah.
then there's a business on Pine Road next to them, so.
I mean, so I'd have to look at the ordinance or reg, but can anyone just open or permit for a junkyard? Is that,
They would have, if
Well,
they
this is
were,
grandfathered, so they'd have to do a new
they would have to
application, right?
do a new application to the zoning board if they wanted to do it now.
Right.
I guess my feeling is if you are not open to approving this tonight, that you would table it and ask Leslie to come in and sit with you, instead of denying it.
Yeah,
I was just asking, I'm not necessarily saying that we have to deny it, but do we necessarily just want to rubber stamp continuing junkyard, just a discussion?
Can we table it, just for now, to ask a few more questions?
When does the permit expire?
At the end of the month. So you could discuss it on 3/26.
it'd have to go to next week.
Do we have to do it for 2 years or can we do it for one?
We changed it to 2 years because the state application a couple of years back changed to 2-year cycle, so to keep ours on the same cycle, that's why we increased it. And then we doubled the application fee so that the town wouldn't lose any
So
revenue.
is the state application pending the town permit, or can the state permit it without?
The state can permit it without this, but they can't operate without that.
And what's the status of the state permit, do we know?
Their last one was approved, and that's the state so the only thing waiting is just the select board
So
signature.
this 2024 to 2026 state has already been approved.
This is the state application for the state, so they just have to submit the application fee, and that
Oh,
would be
okay.
renewed.
And it would be automatically renewed by the state?
I believe so, I think they'll send someone out to make sure that it's in compliance,
Okay,
and as long as it is, they will grant it,
gotcha. And we just have to sign off on it before it can go to the state?
correct.
Okay.
By compliance, you mean, do they have to meet any sort of environmental standards? Basically, like, do they have car batteries out there just on the ground?
Well, what they accept isn't that, can't accept any hazardous waste, it's metal,
White goods, metal, electronics.
What's white goods?
Like washing machines,
Fridges?
no, because that has Freon.
And no ACs for the same reason.
Right.
so, and I'm sorry, did you say they were actively operating as such, or is it, I couldn't get a sense, is that,
This business, I don't know that they're still collecting goods, but I think there still is
On
Stuff
site.
material
there.
on site.
So they do need a permit just to have it on site, probably.
right?
I personally don't have a big problem with this. I have not heard any complaints from anyone in town about it. And I think if we're gonna table it, we should clarify what additional information we're looking for between this week and next week to make a decision next week.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there particular,
My only questions were more along the lines of environmental, that was where I was.
Yep.
Those were the basis of the questions that I wanted to ask.
okay, you don't know of any environmental concerns or reports or state investigations or
No,
anything like
I
that?
haven't received anything from DES
Okay,
with any inspection reports
okay,
notifying us of any concerns.
okay.
I have a little bit of information. Lynn Merrill with Bartlett down in Kingston is the realtor, and I believe they filled out a sale claimant with all, they have to declare whether there's any hazardous material. So I think that form is available from the realtor if you wanted to look at that.
That's really helpful, thank you, Becky.
Is that lot for sale though?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's for sale.
I thought the one on Pine Road was.
Both are.
Did you still want to continue it, table it, John, or are you good for a motion to approve?
No, but,
Yeah, well, So my only concern would be the transfer. You know, I don't have an issue with, you know, it remaining with that owner, but yes, being transferred to someone who you don't know for 2 years, I don't know. It just gives me cause for concern.
Can we put a stipulation that the town permit can't be transferred?
Well, it's in the business name, so as long as the business, if when the property transfers, if they change the business name, then it would have to be, they'd have to reapply to the town.
So they'd have to buy the business as well as the property.
Right, I mean, the use runs with the town, but that permit will run with the business name.
Wouldn't you assume that any buyer probably would want to change the name from Bob's Heavy Equipment to something else?
Not if they get this, not if they get grandfathered.
Not if it's grandfathered, right, that could be, they may decide that Bob's is just a great name for them. I hear the concern that, you know, it could go from a relatively inactive junkyard to a very active junkyard if it was
Right.
sold to a new owner.
Right, that is the concern.
What additional information would help you make your decision between now and next week when we would have to decide this?
I guess just some legal in terms of whether or not we would have rights to limit, you know, our approval. Because I wouldn't have a problem approving it for that owner.
Sounds like we wouldn't have that ability unless it comes back to this board in 2026 for renewal. Then if it was under a new owner, we could decline to do so.
Right.
And they'd have to make changes to their state permit if they're gonna expand their scope or accept more goods.
That's true.
But I mean, I'm just wondering if we can condition our approval, like conditioned upon it being, you know, this owner as opposed to anyone else.
What's your
Well,
thought?
I mean,
I don't think so.
the permit's in the business name, I don't,
Right,
I mean, if the business name changes,
owners, it's still the same business.
right,
Is it an LLC or is it a?
it's an LLC.
Yep, LLC.
So
Right, but if the LLC is owned by someone different, right, they're now the member of the LLC or the principal member, you know, can't we condition the permit on saying that if some other principal member becomes part of that LLC, we now, you know, condition the approval?
I wouldn't think so because we're granting the license to the LLC.
Conditioned upon it being the member who presently exists as opposed to some other member. I mean, that's, you know,
What if they just add a new person and keep the existing person?
if they add a new person?
Yeah.
Right, so that would be the condition.
no, what Letty's saying is that I sell you my LLC, but I still say as a
Right.
primary member.
Right.
If you remain as a primary member?
But you are now operating it.
I don't know, you're kind of getting beyond where I can respond at this point.
Right, but that's what we're saying is that it could go endless of,
I mean, if they are in
What they-
violation,
Then we
you
send,
could- then yeah.
you send out
Then-
code enforcement and then you start
Right.
enforcing.
No, I know.
again.
Or the state won't approve it if they're in violation. So does anybody have concerns that they feel could be resolved by next week that would merit tabling this? If not, then I would take a motion to approve it, because I think those are our two options on the table.
Well, only, you know, that I would want to explore whether or not some sort of conditional approval can be done along the lines that I was suggesting. I mean, maybe not, but I can't answer that question right here on the spot. It
Okay.
requires a little more legal acumen that I can summon up right this moment.
Okay, so do you want to table it till next week?
I would, just to consider the issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would also give the public, if there's anybody watching or listening to this meeting who has any input on this approval, they're welcome to come to public comment next week and make comments. But for now, it sounds like we will table this.
did you want to make a motion for it?
Yeah, I'll move to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
And we'll take a vote. Andy?
Aye.
John? Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, so we will table till next week and readdress that next week.
I will invite Leslie to next week's meeting.
Okay, great, maybe they can give us a little more insight into what the current use is. Okay, anything else you have for us?
The only other thing is, it looks like there's 2 modules on our solar field that have damage to them. It looks like Revision has identified it as damage. They think a rock got kicked up from the gravel roadway to the back of the panel and is causing damage. So they foresee that as an electrical concern. In order to swap them out, it's gonna cost $650 for each module, and then about $147, well, the bill rate is $147 for, they're estimating 2 hours worth of work for the replacement. So we're looking at $1594.
What's the current status? We haven't yet bought out the system.
Correct, but
Right.
because this is damaged caused from an impact and not a failure of the material, it's not covered under the warranty, so these are billable.
Okay, so no
repairs.
matter what, even if we were, whether we owned it or whether we're still under the lease plan, this would be our financial responsibility?
Correct.
Okay.
But we don't own it, so we don't have recs, and we have no money in the new revolving account that we just established.
Yep.
So do we want to take this out of a capital reserve fund? Do you wanna take it out of government buildings?
How much is it?
How much is that deductible?
$1,594. $1,000.
$15.94.
If we take it out of like the building fund or something, that work for the building? If we take it out of the capital reserve funds, can we reimburse that from the rec fund once we get money in there?
You can't, because you can only deposit money into a capital reserve fund with town meeting vote.
Oh, right, yep.
Okay.
Do you feel that solar panels falls under government buildings?
So we could take it out of government buildings for now, and then we could always take it out of the capital reserve fund later in the year to replenish the operating budget.
Right.
If we don't get enough recs.
I think that's reasonable. Does anyone want to make a motion to take the $15.94 to repair the solar panels out of government buildings, CRF?
Moved. CRF or the line
No.
item?
Line.
The line item.
Oh, the line
yeah.
item, sorry.
Moved.
Second.
And vote, Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll take that out of the government building line to make those repairs. Okay,
So we could undo that later if we needed to.
Yes, but you can't put it back in the
Right.
CRF.
that makes sense.
Do they have an idea how the rock got kicked up? Was it from mowing?
I
Was
think
it
it's from mowing. So I can talk to them always about
Have
that.
we done mowing
They
in
mow,
March?
well, not from this season, from last season.
Oh, it's old.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Do you see how they mow though?
No,
They mow right under the panels, and then when they get really close, they turn their face so that they can get right under the panels, and then they turn their heads back and go backwards.
Okay, so maybe we don't need to go that close.
okay. Makes sense. All right, anything else you have for us?
I have non-public.
Okay. We will now turn to committee updates and any other board business from any board members, and we'll start with Andy.
So the Conservation Commission has drafted a letter to send to the Exeter Selectboard that they're asking us to sign off on as well, related to the dam. I believe everybody has a copy in front of them. To the Exeter Selectboard Town Administrator, we are sending this correspondence as a follow-up to Brentwood's November 15th, 2023 regarding Exeter's grant application to NOAA for funding for the removal of the Pickpocket Dam. Having reviewed the final Exeter River Study report by VHB that was posted on Exeter's website on February 20th, 2024, additional facts and concerns have come to light. It has become clear that potential damage to properties in Brentwood due to dam removal will be more significant than noted in the final report. Specifically, we refer to the sections of the report that outlines the loss of wetlands, wildlife habitat, corridors, recreation, changes to 15 conservation easements, as well as private properties along the river up to Hague Road. All are a great concern. In our November 15th, 2023 letter to Russ Dean, Brentwood asked what Exeter's intent was and requested a collaborative approach to Brentwood and its residents. That has not been forthcoming. We understand the decisions will be announced by July 1st, 2024. Representatives from Brentwood would like to be included in all current and future ongoing discussions prior to any notice from NOAA regarding the grant, whether the grant will be approved. If the grant is awarded to Exeter, Brentwood would like it to be an integral part of any deliberation process and planning before this decision is made to accept the grant. So the major concern of the Conservation Commission is the river height at the dam is supposed to drop 10 feet, which would significantly decrease the flow as well as where the high water mark is on the properties. And Brentwood having 15 conservation easements on those properties. And there is no money in the grant for remediation of those properties to help stabilize banks and so forth.
There's a little, but not much. I think it's for the 6 miles upstream, it's like $50,000. And they are not accepting any liability if there's damage to property. And if there's any concern about an easement or someone's deed, it's up to the individual owner to seek their own legal counsel to resolve any issues.
I know we asked to have Mitchell Municipal consulted on this, so was there a,
I don't have a determination from legal counsel yet, so I'm still working on getting that. I think this would be similar to what they did in Fremont with the Mill Road Dam, and all of the property owners along the river got together and they ended up having to do something civilly. I think it was,
That's what my question is about this letter, is it refers to Brentwood, and I guess I need to understand who that is. So when it says Brentwood would like to be an integral part of the deliberation process, the Brentwood Selectboard, the Brentwood Conservation Committee, Brentwood residents, I feel like I need to understand exactly what we're asking here before I would be comfortable signing something like this. I don't know if what conservation meant by Brentwood.
I believe that the it's the river committee that the select board in Exeter requested the study, and it's the river committee that made the decision to
Right.
apply for the grant and submit it. So parallel on the Brentwood side, would it be a representative of the select board and the URSLAC or conservation to be part of any discussion? The comments on the grant report are due in 2 days. But I talked to Karen a little bit today, feeling that this is not really comments on the report itself, but it's a letter similar to the one you sent in November.
Yep.
So there's time to work on perfecting the language and clarifying any concern about the language. When the vote was taken at conservation, it was unanimous, and it was actually Glenn Greenwood who had suggested the week before that it could be a joint letter from conservation and the select board. So we're just acting on those 2 deliberations. But language could be clarified a little bit. We're not lawyers.
Yep.
So yes, any help with this would be appreciated.
I guess I still have that concern about if it's saying Brentwood
Right.
wants to be an integral part of deliberation and planning and decision-making. It's unclear to me who that is, and it's not clear to me that that should be the select board of Brentwood at this point, especially if we do not have legal standing. This may not be appropriate. It might be appropriate for it to say Brentwood residents, or the Brentwood, or the river group in Brentwood. But I think we really need to, our group here needs to figure out what legal involvement we want to have before I think we want to send a letter like this, that it's requesting something specific. Before, our first letter was just requesting, please keep us informed, basically. To me, this feels like asking for more, for us to be at the table as a decision maker, which I'm assuming Exeter has every right to just say no to. Correct? This would just be us requesting that.
my only thought on that is,
Sorry.
we are now property owners in this, that our
Sure.
property is gonna be damaged.
Sure.
So I think,
Because there's conservation property and we have the conservation easement as the town.
yes.
Okay, yep, I hear what you're saying.
Jen?
And I wanted to make sure that we had asked that question, Karen, to council, that
Yep.
because we are property owners.
Okay, yep.
And potential loss of recreational opportunities and the associated financial impacts. Cause I know that we've talked about this twice before, requesting further comment from legal counsel. Is that conversation been had?
I was trying to connect with Laura, but she was in mediation today, so she was not available.
And can I clarify, are we property owners, or do we just own conservation easements on those properties?
I think
No,
we,
no.
That-
I don't know that it matters per se. I mean, if
It
you're an
does.
easement owner, you have
I
an
think
interest.
I think it would matter if we were an owner versus we had the right to prohibit.
I would
Development.
agree, and the easement, the way that they're written is that the town only has the executory interest, so we're only stepping in if they default on the easements, they're not, that's the only obligation that the town has, or the only rights that the town has.
We do not own any land, it's only easements touching the river.
I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I do feel like we might need to clarify some of those details.
Yeah.
Do you know that from the abutters notices that you sent out last week?
And figure that out.
If the town owns any land along the river, yes, there would have been a letter sent to all owners who are abutters, and the town would have been included.
And we
I don't
weren't.
think we do. I think we're just easement
And Jen,
holders.
I think your first letter used the word collaborative.
Yeah,
Would
yeah,
like
yeah,
to
sure.
collaborate. So I think we're modeling this on that
Right.
sense of collaboration. So whomever you think is part of that collaborative process would be the same in this letter.
The town, assuming that, I don't know how far this parcel goes, but there's a parcel that the town owns right before the bridge on that road, like that big wooded area, the town owns that, I don't know if we own the other side of the road as well. But if we
I
do,
don't know. Is that abut the river?
the road is in between the parcel and the river, so I don't know where the actual property line is.
Seems like that might, as we talk to council about our legal standing, it seems that whether we're owners or not would have probably an impact on what kind of language we would be comfortable using.
Yeah, I mean, I want to explore also the issue of if it impacts like the contour of a property that we have easement on, it seems to me it would then impact the value of that easement. I mean, if you have a suddenly, change property, then the conservation on it may not be nearly as valuable. I don't know, but,
It will change some, because if the water is going to diminish by about
Right.
83%, and some of the properties are going to gain,
They're gonna grow,
are gonna grow.
if anything.
And they're
probably
prohibited
increases
from
the
doing
value.
building because of the wetlands, but if the wetlands go away, does that mean they can do something else on that property?
No, because it'll still be wet. The report specifically talked
We'll
about
see.
how that won't change the.
I guess my concern here is, as Karen mentioned, when this happened in Fremont, that it was the landowners who got together and filed civil action. So I really need to understand, does the town really need to step in here, or do these landowners need to advocate for themselves and their own properties? And I don't necessarily want to put Brentwood at risk legally and financially of getting involved, if it really would be more appropriate for the landowners to do this on their own behalf. So I think I would really need to understand whether we are an owner versus an easement holder, and to really wait until we hear from legal about our standing. Because I'm not opposed to sending a letter asking Exeter to keep involving Brentwood, but we may want to change the wording a little bit, and maybe it should say Brentwood residents or Brentwood landowners who are involved. We need to think about who we're really asking to be involved here. Because if we're not gonna take a legal stand, it doesn't necessarily make sense for it to be our board that directly gets involved, potentially.
I don't know why it can't be a dual approach. I mean, I don't disagree that people who own the parcels along the river are gonna be directly impacted, and then
Sure.
they would have civil claims. But I think it could also involve a dual approach. And this letter seems to me not to open us up to liability. It's relatively harmless. It's basically saying, look, we want to be part of the discussion. I mean, I understand representatives from Brentwood isn't specifically delineated who that might be, but I mean, could say, what the, I'm gonna have the Conservation Commission or whoever. it
Right,
may
I
be.
think I just wanna understand who we mean by Brentwood, you know, who's the royal we that we're talking about when we
Well-
use the word Brentwood?
So it looks like we, we own 3.39 acres at 29 Peabody Drive, lot number 220.001.000.
Yeah, I've found two more since.
I think that's just common land that was approved as part of that subdivision.
There's also a piece off of Hay, it looks like.
It shows us as owners.
214-117.
In access.
000.
So we might be actual owners of
And on
River
Hay,
Abutter.
is that
Yeah.
is that Breeze Landing? Or is that something different?
It's a piece on Hay right before Old Gordon Road. You know where it gets really curvy.
Does that give us access to the Stevens, to the,
No, it's the riverside.
okay.
I guess you could see how many letters you get.
My concern about
We haven't
not
received any.
responding is it just gives Exeter the opportunity to say, well, you know, Brentwood didn't care enough to, you know, even make a response. It's,
Oh, I'm not opposed to responding, I just wanna make sure we respond in the right way.
Appropriately.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, we already sent one letter, so they know we're interested, and we
Okay.
showed up to the meeting and sat there for half an hour when they had to cancel it because they didn't have a quorum, so I think they know that we're, and I know you spoke, I know multiple Brentwood residents spoke, I'm pretty sure they know that we're interested.
So why don't we
The
wait
question
for
is just what makes sense.
council to clarify and then pick this back up next
Great,
week?
I think that would be really helpful, just to have them weigh in and to clarify who's speaking in this, you know, who Brentwood is in this letter would make me feel better about
I
it.
thought there was a date, Andy, by which comments needed to get in by though.
I think those were specific, to Becky's point, I think those were specific comments on the feasibility study, whereas this is more of sort of a big picture. Is that kind of how you're thinking of it, Becky?
This is coming out after the full report was revealed, and the application went in before this information was available when they made their decision.
Right,
I know Eric Tur has asked for the grant to be withdrawn. Span has sent letters to DES, Fish and Game, and NOAA noting the inaccuracies in their application,
Right.
misinformation in their
Right.
application.
Right.
So he's getting responses back from NOAA. So that's more of a legal approach. I think this is just, if this is gonna go forward, we need to be part of this.
But was there a date by which this needed?
March 21 is the date for comments on the final study.
but this is sort of separate in my
I don't
view.
know. I don't
Yeah.
know what's the legal reading on that. I don't know what they'll do with this letter, letter. I don't know what they
Well,
do with the letter.
They did precisely nothing with our
Nothing,
first
yes.
letter, correct?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So they may do,
Well,
who knows?
I mean, Rustin is making an effort to notify us of the meetings
True,
before they are
That's
in
true,
advance.
they have
He
kind of
does-
looped us in.
He does send me an email and say, hey, this is the next meeting, this is the time of the meeting,
Yeah,
here's
sure.
the agenda. So I think
That's
he's-
true, they
he is
have
making
given
an
us heads
effort.
up. Yep.
Right, but at least this, I think this puts on the record the concern, which is the
Sure.
damage to the
Sure.
properties. And I
Yeah.
think it needs to be said.
Does the language of this letter, jive with your, would you support the language of this letter if if council says, yes, we're owners, yes, we potentially have standing because of the impacts, like, basically where I'm driving at is, do we wanna consider an approval contingent on legal weighing in?
I think that would be okay, I think I just,
Want to clarify.
I wanna
what
clarify who Brentwood is. Is it, you know, cause we're not just, you know, Brentwood isn't a thing. So is this the select board, is it conservation, is it landowners?
Technically, Brentwood is the Board of Selectmen.
True. So are,
'Cause
but
we-
are we
we-
asking for us particularly to be an integral part of these?
Or our designated
Representative.
representative as the Conservation Commission.
Right, that's what I would think, I would feel better having that clarified, like who are we actually asking you to rope in to be an integral part of this process? I would feel better if that was clarified who that was.
Mitchell Municipal Group.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's gonna turn into a legal fight, then maybe it's our lawyers who are gonna be involved, but I feel like I would feel much better about this if I understood who we meant by this.
So this wasn't technically agendized discussion, so I don't
Correct.
think we need to table it, we could just push push it off till next week.
Okay, and kind of wait and see what council has to say about it. Okay.
You know, and- Or
And then
maybe,
planning
maybe the
will also
letter
notice.
could be edited to, you know, talk
Exactly.
about representatives or.
Or we could really think about who are the, who's the,
So clarification would be helpful, whatever
Yeah.
works best for the town.
well, what do
of
you think,
Brentwood.
Becky, when you think of, who are you thinking of would make the most sense to be an integral part of the deliberation process? Are you thinking yourself as conservation chair? Are you thinking the individual Brentwood residents who are property owners? That might include the select board. What's your thoughts on
I
it?
would think select board, conservation, and someone representing other residents who have property along the river.
And
You can name me as the new liaison to the Conservation Commission.
And I would say if the conservation easements are held by CELT or New Hampshire Land Trust or whatever, a member from
Oh yeah, there's a couple of those too.
Yeah.
That
that
might-
should also be,
Yeah, maybe we should sort of make a list of who we
Yeah,
really
who
mean
owns all of those,
by
because-
Brentwood, yeah. Maybe
because
means all of
Rockingham
those things.
Conservation could be property owners there as well. I don't think the Forest Society is, but RCCB could be.
Okay.
Could put ESQ after my name, too.
We would appreciate any clarification as well,
Okay.
and any concerns resolved, but I think we should do one more outreach to Exeter, asking for involvement.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Just sounds like we have a few little details to clean up, so we'll wait till, hopefully we'll hear back from Laura by next meeting, and we'll decide exactly how we want to wordsmith this and then get it out to Exeter. Does that sound good?
Eavesdrop or be aware of what Laura says, just so I'm.
I think we'll probably discuss it in public session next week.
Okay.
All right, everyone okay with that? Pushing pause on that? Okay. Andy, you are back to having the floor for any updates.
was all I have.
Okay. John?
Econ Dev on Thursday, they're at the opposite. I will be on a plane unfortunately, but there will be a meeting.
Okay.
Actually, John, can I jump in on your rec thing for a minute?
Sure.
Andy had sent me a email about, Brentwood bow hunters.
Yes,
Was that resolved?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, let's,
And actually, isn't there the field cleanup day coming up?
Yes.
So we should make sure we get that publicized out on the town website and everything to try to get folks to come to that.
And the bunny breakfast is this weekend?
And the bunny breakfast, yes, okay. I think that was up on the rec sign I saw on the way here, driving here. Okay, anything else you have for us?
As well as rabies clinic.
Yes, there is that was up on the town Facebook page, the rabies clinic.
www.brentwoodnh.gov.
It's true.
Okay, anything else you have for us, John?
uh,
Okay, Paul?
Go ahead, Doug. Rockingham Commission.
I'd like to give an update on last week's meeting, Wednesday's meeting for RPC. It was, they were talking about the 25-year plan. In attendance, Mark Kennedy was there, a new RPC member. Doug Marino, new to the planning board, he attended as well. RPC's working on the master plan for the next 25 years. They invited students from UNH, 6 to 7 showed up that night. Doug Marino was also there representing Brentwood and a younger point of view. I know that might not be politically correct, but they're trying to break it down into the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s to get a perspective as to what everybody's thinking as a 25-year plan might look like. Given the fact by age, I wouldn't be a good candidate to give them a 25 years. And most of the members are my age, if not older, and that's 900 years old, so.
They didn't realize I'm actually 56.
Things that came up were ADUs, more green space seemed to be very important, large community centers locally with either a lower price or no fees because it's so expensive to go to concerts and things like that, so more town activities would be, that was mentioned a couple of times. Housing was a main focus, affordability for younger people in the state, in whether it be apartments or housing. Transportation seems to be diminishing in the state as far as going back from UNH to Portsmouth through Newmarket. They don't do that as frequently, if they do that at all. Some of the students couldn't make it to the meeting because they had no transportation and no accessibility that way. The most interesting point to me was a general consensus that these students, including Doug, had made mention that because of the fact that there aren't a lot of opportunities within the state or the Rockingham area for graduates to come into, it's a low paying area, so and plus housing wasn't very affordable. They're feeling forced to being moved away to cities, Boston, Melrose, that area. And it seemed to be a general consensus that everybody was working hard, even the discussion at school, because most of them were involved in some sort of planning, that it wasn't easy, it was not an easy solution. So RPC is looking to streamline their master plan so it's readable, workable, and they're hoping that the communities, Brentwood, Exeter, all the communities, also develop their master plan the same kind of pattern that they are doing, so they can work together a little closer and maybe make the Rockingham County a little stronger. Doug, did you have anything?
No, I think you covered pretty much all of it. I would just reiterate, I think a major concern is the retention of young people in New Hampshire. Even if I recall correctly, the young woman who was at the table with Doug, with Doug, Mark, and myself.
She doesn't live.
She was at the table with Doug, myself, and Mark. If I recall correctly, even she wasn't sure if she's going to be able to stay here. And this is a young woman who obviously is very interested in civic engagement here. And so, yeah, I think that's a big concern. But yeah, I think Doug hit all the other points.
And thank you for attending.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for updates. Anything else you have for us, Paul?
No, planning board was otherwise quiet.
Okay.
There wasn't really anything on the agenda that I can recall that, yeah.
Okay,
It was a continuation of an application, that was about it.
okay, all right.
Yes.
Letty, do you have any board business to bring forward on your first meeting?
No. I mean, I could talk about communications.
Sure.
That'd be helpful.
If you'd like to, if there's any updates?
We're making progress.
Yes, I see that.
Website is up. We're working towards getting rec and then eventually library also onto the website. We are figuring out when we are gonna officially hand over the website reins from the communications committee to the town. I think that's it.
One thing I noticed, I was looking for some old minutes from Selectboard, and the minutes only go back like about 2 years right now. Are we doing like uploading later on, or what's
So we're
the?
trying to decide, so the way we have everything from the old website is just a giant network of folders, and we're trying to decide if it makes sense to upload all of them to the website, or if there's just gonna be a Dropbox somewhere else, or if people can download them, here's everything from 2020 to zip file, or how that works.
Okay, so that's sort of work in progress.
Yes.
I figured it probably was. Okay, thank you.
Can I just piggyback off that?
Yes,
for a
please.
second? So I think when all this is working, us as a board should have a discussion that communication comes in and does a training lesson for all of us.
Yep.
And then all of our subcommittees be required to live stream, and then strongly recommend planning and budget to do the same.
Yep.
Just for transparency, and we have this technology, let's use it.
Yep.
I know Concom's excited about the Teams aspect, because they have a lot of experts that are throughout the state that are gonna do some training. And it makes more sense for them to be the teams in and do a 15-minute presentation than drive an hour, talk to conservation for
Totally.
15 minutes, and then drive an hour home, so.
Yep.
Andy, will you include us in that training? The planning board?
Definitely. I would assume communications would actually come visit planning if,
Yeah.
Is there a plan to write like a little how-to guide, I would imagine? Idiot's Guide to Brentwood,
And to your point,
button pushing?
if everyone on the select board knows what to do,
right,
then since all of those committees have a
That's
select
true.
board rep, it should in theory make it easier.
That's true.
I wasn't insulted on that.
No, I think that's a great idea to move towards that.
Can I ask just a quick question? Is there a web page and a Facebook page?
Correct.
Yes.
So what's the
And a YouTube page.
Facebook? And a what?
YouTube page.
Yeah, true, and you too.
Does the YouTube have something besides the replays of the meetings? No, okay. What does the Facebook page add? Like, what does that-
Generally just posts announcements that also are on the website,
Yes.
correct? So it's sort of double, right?
So anything that gets posted to news on the website gets automatically posted to Facebook.
Double
Okay, and is
exposure.
Facebook just, Town of Brentwood, what's the Facebook?
Town of Brentwood, yep. And and there's no comments, it's just posting out information. And it's
Is there a
generally
link on-
posted by the
checking.
communications committee or Karen or Daphne, correct, are the only people
But
who
it's not any
post.
different or extra, there's more on the website.
Initially, before the new
There is
website
a-
was up, there was some unique
There's a
information going out
Facebook
on
button on the
Facebook.
bottom of the homepage.
That's what I thought.
Oh, great, it directly links.
And a YouTube one.
Yeah, at this point, there shouldn't be any information that is on Facebook that's not also on the website, correct? Because it directly comes from the website.
Not necessarily.
Technically, anyone who has access to the town Facebook page can still make a post.
Right. I don't know, do you or
That's just
Daphne
staff,
have,
so
So I think
unless Daphne posts something from a town clerk's perspective, but I think she would want that on the website as well.
I think she posts everything on
she's
the
been
website
doing
and
most
just
things
shares it.
through news, yeah.
Perfect, because I think it should ideally be the same in both places.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wondered if everything's on the website, why we need a Facebook page anymore.
Instant gratification.
Just more exposure, yeah.
You get likes.
Oh,
Notifications.
I do have a follow-up question, since
Sure.
iCloud was mentioned and the question of records going back. We're redoing our conservation manual, and the references to record storage are the third drawer in the file cabinet in the planning board office. I need to understand what exactly do we need to keep, in what form and where, and what is our obligation? Can we clean out some papers? And it's really, it goes back to 1995.
Sounds like a
There's a-
good conversation to have offline.
There's a statute that has records of retention, it's a state statute, so I'll send that to you.
So if you can follow up with Karen offline, I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Oh, sorry, that reminds me, the other thing that the communications committee is trying to do, because we became aware during the giant document download that there's no standardized naming format, so a lot of the documents are just called January minutes or
Yes,
something like that, because
that's
it
what
used to
I'm
just be,
chasing.
Yep.
Yeah.
right, so we're gonna come up with some sort of naming standards
Perfect.
that would be helpful, hopefully.
For filing purposes. Great, perfect. We're getting organized.
Trying.
Good, okay. Anything else that you have for the board?
I don't think so.
Okay. From myself, there's nothing really new on the school board, other than that their district meeting went well and their budget passed and the bond for solar passed. So we're very excited to see what comes of that, including if and when solar is built at the school, there's gonna be a remote panel that the kids can look at and operate and use for STEAM, which I think will be so cool. So we're looking forward to seeing how that project potentially develops over the next year or two. In terms of, from the mail, we did get a very nice letter from some citizens thanking Officer Gagnon and Saltzman for their kind, considerate, and professional help with a recent call. So that was nice, and I like to give them some props. It's nice when we get letters like that. I think that was all I had. I guess from the building committee perspective, Chief mentioned this briefly at town meeting, but at our last meeting, we did have a group come and present to us on services that they could help us with in the next steps of the process. And so now that the CRF renaming was approved by the town, that frees up that money to potentially be used for like a feasibility of doing a joint building. So I think in the next few weeks, Chief is likely to come to our board to look for approval to move forward with a planning group. I think it was in the ballpark of $10,000.
Do you wanna do that?
Did he already give it to you?
Well, no, I printed it. I had it from the last,
Do you want to wait till the chief is here?
we can.
Yeah, why don't we wait till he's here? Because I think he was, we were hoping that the warrant would pass so we could move forward with this next step. So we will be anticipating that. And just to reiterate to everybody that it is not yet a decided fact that we're going to do a joint municipal and police building, but this allows us to move forward with the investigation and potential planning to see what the feasibility is of that, to then be able to put that in front of the voters to see if that's something that they would get behind. So it's an important next step for us. And I think that was the only other update that I had. Does anybody have any other board business before we go into non-public? If not, I will take a motion to go into non-public for personnel and legal.
Motion.
Second.
Andy?
Aye.
John? Paul? Letty? Aye. And I'm an aye, so we'll go into non-public at 7:16.